Major announcement this week. The Fall Off is officially coming 10 years in the making, dropping February 6th, 2026. And I had to look up the significance of the date. So apparently 2626 as an angel number, it signifies balance, harmony, and trust in your spiritual journey, encouraging you to release worries, embrace optimism, and focus on personal growth, self-love, and positive relationships. Listen, Cole's you one of them, like real spiritual type of dudes, man. And this project pretty much, signaling damn, the end of J. Cole's career. This is quite honestly his last project, of course, in hip hop, in sports. Is there ever a such thing as retirement? I think Cole is one of those artists. If there is a retirement in hip hop, I think he stands on this. I really believe this is indeed his last project. So, I watched the trailer of the album announcement. Of course, we did the reaction to disc 2, track 2. And, of course, it's a personal song telling his life story in reverse, starting with death all the way to a time before he even existed. And that's pretty much what the Fall Off is. He's saying pretty much, I'm not going to exist in this space anymore. Like enjoy me while y'all can type deal, man. And I expect a lot of that on this album. I don't really expect to hear, I'm the best rapper of all time. What Cole was on before the Drake Kendrick squabble that went on, man. Cole was releasing these singles and he was, it was all about, I dare anybody to step up. I'm really him. I'm that. An apology that he did to Kendrick, bro, after dissing him, it kind of tarnished that. So I don't think we're going to hear much of that talk. I feel like this project's going to be more so about self-reflection, reminiscing. If he's going out, this is going to be a project, about his highs and lows throughout his career. I do expect him to mention Drake and Kendrick. I know people were saying he doesn't need to mention them. We don't want to hear him mention them. You're lying if you're saying you don't want him to mention anything of his thoughts on the back and forth. Now, he briefly talked about it on, I believe it was Port Antonio, where he briefly talked about, his brothers going at it, his friends going at it. I want him to go a little deeper on this project, man. I really want him to talk about, his thought process through apologizing to Kendrick and why, he bowed out gracefully. Of course, now looking back on it, we understand fully why, because, Cole doesn't have any hatred towards Kendrick, and I don't think Kendrick has hatred towards Cole. I just think, Cole just wanted to go into it for the sport-friendly competition. Kendrick's agenda was a little more, ruthless. Probably word got around like, listen, Cole, I don't want to go there with you. I don't like this dude. We've been there. We ain't even gonna go down that road more than we need to. So, like I said, I think he should make mention of Drake and Kendrick, and if this is his way of exiting music, though, poking either bear, either Drake or Kendrick, in any way, speaking on them, it could be met with a response. Now, like I said, Cole bowing out gracefully will be the topic. I would love to hear more stories of Cole's relationships and his music. If him and Jay-Z are still close, the rumored collab album with Kendrick Lamar and their relationship, I want to hear him talk on all this stuff, all of this stuff, man. And his thoughts on where hip hop is headed. I'm pretty sure he's going to really let it be known, what he thinks of the current state of hip hop as well. Now, as far as features on the album go, like I said in a reaction, I expect this to be where that Jay-Z verse is. Everyone kept talking about this whole verse for the last couple of years. I think this album makes the most sense for it to be. Honestly, man, Jay-Z signed J. Cole. He put J. Cole on, and for J. Cole to go out this way, how about we have that whole verse? Jay-Z on J. Cole's last album, I think this is going to be well needed. I'm trying not to get my hopes up for this, though. I'm trying not to get my hopes up for this. I know some people laughed at me when I said, Jay-Z is going to be the feature on this album. People saying Jay-Z's done. I don't think Jay-Z's done giving out verses. I really don't. But if there is a Jay-Z verse, I want to hear Jay-Z speak on Nicki Minaj and how she's been talking on him. I want to hear Jay-Z speak on the Super Bowl. His decision, playing a part in having Kendrick over Wayne. That was a huge debate last year. You know, I think Jay-Z in this verse, if there is one, I'm talking hypothetical, it'll shake up the industry. Um, and I think Cole on the same song with Jay-Z would also air out his grievances as well. Another feature I would like to see on this project, I would like to see the baby. We know the baby and Cole, man, they got a lot of history together, you know, coming from, you know, where they come from. I think the baby being on this album, I know for a fact he will deliver. You know, say what you want about the baby. I know he's had kind of a tough, you know, trying to get back in the good graces of the commercial audience. I think this would be a great way of, you know, kind of, you know, at least creaking the door a little bit for the baby to get back in. Like I said, him and Cole, man, they got great chemistry together. They have history together. And with the baby gearing up to drop, I think he's dropping a solo album pretty soon. He said the album's pretty much done. This would be a great way to kind of kickstart momentum. I heard he dropped the project like late last year, early this year. I think him being on Cole's album, this would be a great way to, you know, add to the momentum heading into his own drop. I think this would be perfect timing for the baby as well. I expect a little baby feature, maybe some Dreamville artists like Boz. I think honestly, that'll be enough. I don't want this album to be too feature crazy, and I don't expect to hear Drake on this album at all. Drake or Kendrick at all. This is a 2-disc album. I don't expect to hear Drake or Kendrick. Now, I have this, like, what they call it, the tinfoil hat. I have this crazy theory, right? And this is just speculating wildly, man. This is what makes the stuff exciting. But I have this crazy theory that there's some type of tension between Drake and J. Cole. This is just strictly just, nobody has to agree with what I'm saying. This is just crazy talk, right? When I think too much about this stuff and get a little too invested, I, for some reason, feel like there's some tension between Cole and Drake stemming from J. Cole backing out when he did and how he did it. And really not coming to Drake's corner, Drake's side, or, you know, during the situation with Kendrick. And I could be wrong. Cole is going to set the standard for music this year, though. And I hope Drake follows with Ice, man. I hope Future follows, Khaled follows. And this becomes a year of a lot of big industry drops, because I feel like last couple of years we've really been lacking. I mean, Kendrick kind of kept it alive with GNX and stuff. That was dope. But yeah, we haven't really got many big industry names dropping. But yeah, man. Is this J. Cole's last album? I think so. I think so. I feel like J. Cole, it wouldn't have took this long if it wasn't. And I think J. Cole is somebody that moves with pure intention. I think he is a very strategic person majority of the time. I think he thought this through. I think it's setting up to drop on a date he wanted it to drop. I personally thought this was going to drop in 2024, 10 years after, you know, Forrest, you know, the classic album from J. Cole. But yeah, I think this is it, man. I think next to Joe Budden, I mean, when rappers say they retire other than Joe Budden, they don't really retire, but I think J. Cole really is. Or he could pull a Hove move and, you know, maybe he pop up on some features here and there. But I think, you know, hip hop runs through Cole's veins. And I could honestly see, if Cole is done putting out music himself, and maybe he just shows love on features, but maybe he really might be done after this album. I don't know, man. I'm leaning more towards this is his last album. So, you know, onto the lookout, you know, the outlook on hip hop in 2026. Like I said, we got Cole. I think Drake's going to be dropping Iceman probably sometime between April and August, even though I think a winter drop would be a lot more fly for Iceman. Just personally, I saw Roddy Ricch had his whole album scrapped. Navy album will not be dropping. I kind of said that on a video I did last month about how Roddy Ricch just scrapped the whole thing. Considering it's been 2 years, scrap the whole thing, start from scratch. Give us all new songs, whatever you were planning on dropping. Don't even bother dropping it anymore. Honestly, I did my whole spiel on Roddy Ricch, so I'm not going to spend too much time on him. I feel like I really been probably a little too harsh on my criticism on that, but Yeah, his album got scratched. I think Khaled will be dropping sometime this summer because it's DJ Khaled. Lil Uzi Vert's got to be gearing up for something. The singles he's been giving us, we're in 2026. It's 10 years of Lil Uzi Vert. I think we get something big from Uzi this year. Pooh Shiesty is going to skyrocket when he does drop his album. He could honestly be a top contender when it comes to who's taking that torch that I mentioned the last episode of the pod. So, yo, those are just my thoughts on it, man. But J. Cole to fall off, dropping February 6th, man. So